We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
The Libertarian Party of America recently held its national nominating convention, and on the scene was Liberty Nation's legal affairs editor, Mr. Scott Cosenza. Scott, thanks for coming in.
Cheers, Mark. Welcome. Cheers, Mark. Thank you.
You were going to welcome me to the Libertarian Party Convention, weren't you there? Now, you had some great articles out, which poor Scott wrote overnight to get on the opening pages of LibertyNation.com, sponsor of this show. But also, he had an opportunity to speak with party members there, delegates, the hoi polloi of the libertarian world. And I think, although many people might not consider the Libertarian Party to be a major force in American politics today, it actually is, isn't it, Scott? Because in some ways, because as you made mention in your reporting on the pages of Liberty Nation, the margin of which the Libertarian Party claimed the presidential vote in 2020 was greater in a couple of locations than the margin of victory.
More than a couple, by the way,
yeah.
And approaching even more than that. It was approaching, I think, 5. I think there were 3 states where it eclipsed the margin of victory, and in 2 others it was very close. So, if one candidate can effectively appeal to libertarians and steal a lot of those votes away from the libertarian candidate, meaning one of the candidates being one of the Joe Biden or Donald Trump, the presumed nominees from the Republican and Democrat Party, that might make the measure of a victory for them.
Well, as we know, the elections come down to really 7 swing states across the country. The other states are pretty much locked up. We know where they're going to go, which way they're going to jump.
And my state count, by the way, was for battleground or swing
Absolutely
states.
It was. Absolutely
Yes.
It was. So it's kind of important to figure out just how much support each of the main contenders. We should not ignore that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was also in attendance on the Friday evening for the Libertarian Party Convention. But for the 2 main candidates, the ones who
he was Friday afternoon, and Vivek Ramaswamy was Friday evening, just for the record.
Well, the evenings are for the younger guys, right? That's how it works. Joe Biden would have been, if he were attending, he would have been on at 7 a.m. in the morning.
He was an invitee, by the way, who declined to participate.
He refused to go. Now, whether that was a scheduling thing or if he just didn't feel he had anything to offer the libertarians, well, that's another question. But let's talk about your experience of the libertarians there and what their perception of the speech made by Donald Trump was. And did it seem that Donald Trump would be able to shave off a significant proportion of libertarian voters who, as Trump pointed out in his speech, it's around 3%. In most elections, it's around 3% that they claim. Will he be able to shave off a significant portion of those voters to back him come November 2024?
I think the answer is yes, Mark, as we broke the news on Saturday night with confirmation from the libertarian side of things. The Trump campaign made a deal, or Trump made a deal with the libertarians to announce from the stage that he would pardon Ross Ulbricht on his first day in office. Or excuse me, I misspoke. He would commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht on his first day in office as president, should he win. Ulbricht is the founder of the Silk Road black market website, who was convicted of nonviolent crimes that accrued to double life plus some more time in federal prison, and became a cause celeb for libertarians ever since, because what he did was he created a marketplace for basically where people could exchange Bitcoin for either prescription drugs or illegal drugs, taking away the street dealing violence element to purchasing or selling drugs. He didn't sell any drugs himself that we know of, just established that marketplace. But in any case, we have a system where people who are committed horribly violent crimes against others and don't get, a fraction of the time that Ulbricht got for this nonviolent crime. So it was a huge deal. I spoke to many people who were committed libertarians who wouldn't have thought to vote outside of the Libertarian Party. But when that happened, they said they would absolutely support Donald Trump. in November for president of the United States.
Okay. And as we mentioned earlier, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., independent candidate, was also vying for their support and more. He also put his name down to be considered as the Libertarian Party candidate
Yeah.
for president during their nominating convention. That didn't work out too well, did it?
No, and I don't think that you'll see any libertarians break for non-traditional candidates. They would just vote libertarian. So if you were willing to vote for a candidate who was certainly going to lose in the election, you probably wouldn't support a candidate other than a libertarian candidate. The reason to go for Trump would be that you think collectively your votes might make a difference in choosing Trump over Biden, for instance, and that you prefer Trump over Biden as a libertarian. And that's what Trump was there fighting for. And I thought he did a good job of appealing to those notions, even outside of the Ulbricht commutation promise. His appeal was very much to libertarians on libertarian terms, discussing his achievements that could be supported, from a libertarian perspective, including no new wars, things like that.
Yeah, it surprised me that there's so few people are behind the idea of no new wars.
Right.
It's one of those things. Who doesn't want that? But clearly, there's a large swath of people.
If I could just add one other thing, by the way, if we talk just about the coverage that Trump's appearance got, I saw many articles that led with Trump booed from by libertarians at the convention, and that is true, but it's a lie. Meaning it's a lie if you're making one story about Trump at the Libertarian Convention and you just headline it that he was booed there and that's your takeaway. That's a lie because it doesn't report the true nature of the reception that he got, which was that most of the assembled there who, by the way, had committed to going before they knew Trump was going to be there. They were there to discuss the business of the Libertarian Party, not to welcome Donald Trump, but they did welcome Donald Trump and thought that it was good that he was coming to them to address their concerns. And that was, to both of their credits, meaning they were happy that Donald Trump was addressing them and listening to them, and they were willing to receive him. There was some participation there by libertarians who thought they shouldn't have him at all at the show, at the convention, but I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the overwhelming sentiment was that people were happy that Trump came to address them, and we're happy for the attention to libertarians and libertarian principles.
Next, you'll be telling me the Libertarian Party is the new Al Sharpton of the of the political right. Now, actually, that's a question to ask there. Is the Libertarian Party on the political right, or is it on the left, or is it somewhere in between?
I don't think libertarians belong in either bucket, Mark. The chief concerns of libertarians are that they want non-intervention in foreign policy. They want reduced government oversight of people's lives, especially and including taxes and regulations. They want to keep their money and not have it be spent by government bureaucrats. And those are the big deals. Just using the mechanism of the government to keep the people free to make as many decisions within the private sphere as possible, rather than having many decisions be in the government sphere.
So you think with Donald Trump's talk of refusing to engage with the idea that there'll be, for example, a central bank digital currency that he nixed during his speech, you think that appeals to the libertarian perspective?
I like the way you put that question by saying, you said refuse to engage with the central bank digital currency. When he did, and the reason why I think what's so important is that Donald Trump didn't refuse to engage with the libertarians. He did come out and engage with them, and his mixing it up with them, his willing to go to be at an audience, unlike any he's spoken to before, where lots of people disagreed with him on fundamental issues, I think accrues to Trump's benefit. It's written up like it's a weakness. Oh, he was booed or he got criticized. No. Can you imagine Joe Biden going to an audience where he was greeted hostilely by some significant margin of the crowd? It's almost impossible to think about, and to speak extemporaneously before them. But yes, his knowledge of the crypto world and Bitcoin that Trump evidenced in his talk was, I think, like throwing red meat to the dogs of libertarianism from the stage.
Well, we'll see if they come out for him in November. Scott Cosenza, thanks ever so much for being with us.
Thanks, Mark.
And that's about all we have time for on this week's special edition of Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio American Network. I've been your host, Mark Angelides. I'd like to thank our guests, Cal Thomas, Lisa K. Donner, and Scott D. Cosenza. Thank you all for being here. And I'd like to extend my thanks to you, the listeners at home, who take the time each week to tune in and join the fun. Thanks for being here. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.